All right, good evening, everybody. I would like to call to order the April 19th, 2022 Board of Education regular meeting at 7 p.m. Sarah, good evening to you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Berardi? Mrs. Neff? Here. Mrs. Blau? Here. Mr. Mazzano?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Palazzo?
Here.
Mr. Trujillo?
Here. Okay, a quorum has been established. I just wanted to note, Board Member Berardi did reach out to me. He has a work commitment tonight, so that's why he's not here. Please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Frank, can you read what you said, please?
The mission of Norridge School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
Thank you, sir. Celebration of success time. Anybody has anything?
I have one to share.
Sure.
In November, Norridge School District 80 partnered with West 40, Midwest PBIS, NAMI, and Eisenhower Library to submit a proposal for the ISB Community Partnership Grant. So the Community Partnership Grant was designed to address post-pandemic gaps in opportunity and unfinished teaching and learning. More specifically, the grant aims to decrease gaps in meeting students' social, emotional, behavioral, and mental health needs. And I'm excited to share that our proposal was selected for funding. The grant will provide training, resources, technical assistance to both Lee and Giles schools to focus on social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students. In total, the grant was awarded in the amount of $635,000 over the next 2 school years.
Thank you for that. Anybody else?
It's really hard to follow that. I was very excited about that. That was great. Maybe one to close with that one. We had 2 students in 6th grade. We reported last month ago or so about student-led IEP conferences. We had 2 students in 6th grade who piloted, and all who attended that meeting reported it was a tremendous success. So that was something really nice to see.
And I would like to celebrate our wonderful assistant principals, Mrs. Aarons and Mrs. Meisel. We just recently celebrated Assistant Principal Week. They do a fabulous job in both buildings, and I'd like to thank them for, along with the entire administrative team, I'd like to thank them for all the work. And I would also like to celebrate our staff. Our staff will also be celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week next month. So we're looking forward to that. We're partnering with the PTA, and we have some wonderful things planned for the staff at both Giles and Lee. So we'd like to thank them as well.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you guys for that. And ask the board to consider the approval of the agenda as presented or modified. Any discussion from the board? Okay, without discussion, I'll ask for the motion to approve the agenda as now presented.
Motion.
Frank, seconded by Maria. Sarah, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Trujillo?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mrs. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes. Motion does carry. Again, I'd like to recognize everybody here tonight. Good evening, and thanks for being here. Correspondence. The board did receive notification from IASB. The annual conference is November 18th through 20th at the end of the year. So that should be in your board books as well. Public participation. You can check that first. We do not have any public participation this evening. On to our FOIA request. The district received one since our last meeting dated March the 16th, 2022, which requested the following: access to and or a copy of data reconsideration forms or other forms that challenge library books. Please provide what can be shared of the following: the title of the book or other library resource being challenged, action requested in such a challenge, and the outcome of such challenges, details on the reason for the challenge, whether the book or other library resource was part of the curriculum or official program. Such data over time from January 2018 up until the most current date at the point of production. Such data electronically, ideally in a spreadsheet format. Any available information on the challenge, any other aggregated data relevant to such challenges. This can be found on our website, probably within a day or two. Ralph, you got something?
We responded in a timely manner. We have not had any such challenges to any of our books. I would just remind the board, I think this is something that you may see more of from individuals. This was a news reporter who made this request. Just be very, very careful with these if they do come to district meeting.
Thank you for that. Presentation time, there is no presentation this month. On to our administrative reports. I'll turn it right back to you, Mr. Murphy.
So I just want to very quickly give you a couple highlights from the legislative session that just passed. This was probably the shortest spring session we've seen in a number of years. And because of brevity, there weren't very many bills that directly affect the school district. We do know that the budget was passed with an additional $350 million for evidence-based funding, $300 million of which will flow under the formula, and $50 million allocated for another round of property tax relief grants. There was a $96 million increase to the mandated categoricals, so hopefully we'll see a little bit more money flow to us in that. Not a lot, but a little bit. There was kind of an unusual thing in that this year's budget included $87.5 million in additional EDF payments for adjustments owed from past evidence-based funding cycles to school districts as the result of an error with one school district's enrollment calculation. A very large neighbor of ours was overpaid, and the state board decided to make the other school districts whole, and so they allocated the additional $87.5 million to do that. Also, in the budget implementation bill, there is a sales tax holiday for school supplies from August 5th of 2022 to August 14th. So parents, staff, if you need to buy school supplies, if you buy them during that time period, you won't have to pay the only sales tax. There were a few bills that I would just draw your attention to. House Bill 4813 removes the lowest bidder requirement when selecting a food service vendor. Senate Bill 3986 prohibits ISB from requiring standardized assessments to be administered to students second grade and younger. It does not preclude us from administering our own standardized tests, nor does it allow districts the opportunity to waive out of the kids' assessment. That is still a requirement. Senate Bill 3893 expands the number of days that a substitute may work for any one licensed teacher during the school year. Current law allows for 90 days in one school year, and this bill extends that number to 120 through FY23. That has some potential to help us with our sub shortage. House Bill 4798 allows students enrolled in an Illinois Educator Prep program to obtain a substitute teaching license once they have earned at least 90 credit hours. Not sure how that's going to work, because usually in that last semester, the folks in the teacher prep programs are doing their student teaching. I don't know how they're going to sub and do student teaching, but at least that's now an allowable thing. House Bill 4994 requires every school district to annually file its threat assessment plan with the local regional office of education or education service center. and local law enforcement offices. Provides that the plan must include the names of all members of the assessment team, and these further exempts these plans from FOIA to protect the safety protocols of the school districts. Participated in a webinar 2 weeks ago on developing threat assessment protocols and threat assessment teams. We have a little bit of work to do in that regard, as do many districts. And so I've talked with Mrs. Guzik. She's putting in place a plan to make sure that we're compliant with this. This is going to be, I think, something that's going to be monitored and watched very closely. So we will be bringing to you the necessary items for board approval, and then we will be sharing this information with staff. House Bill 3573 talks about the confusion between e-learning and remote learning. I won't read all of it, but there is a little bit of guidance provided in this bill, assuming the governor signs it. I know that's one of our topics that we want to look into as a result of bargaining, so there's at least a little clarity in some legislation. And then Senate Bill 3914 amends the current sick leave language in the statute to ensure that education employees can utilize their available sick leave days for the purposes of mental and behavioral health complications. Provides that a school board may request documentation from a mental health professional after an absence of 3 days for mental or behavioral health complications. This is another bill that we believe is very significant, and we want to work to implement. The governor has not signed this bill yet. House Bill 5127 changes the timeline for a school board to reorganize after an election from 28 days to 40 days. And those are some of the highlights I just wanted to draw your attention to. There'll be a few more that come out. There'll be some things that we will be working on in the next month or two as a result of this session. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
My report.
Thank you. Mrs. Guzik?
Thank you. I have a couple of things to report on tonight. On Wednesday evening last week, we held an MTSS ELL presentation for the parents. It was a virtual presentation that was put together by the assistant principals, the psychologists, and EL teachers. Ran very well. And the parents who attended were happy with it, and our staff did a great job. We'll continue to offer this every year, but we'll be doing it in the fall next year. Session 2 of the after-school summer enrichment program started today. We offered 7 classes at Giles, and unfortunately only 4 of them filled to the point that we could run them. It was actually like the gym class that didn't fill at all, which is unusual, the sports classes. The chess class filled. The triple threat, which is a dancing, singing, performing class, which last week the one at Lee had a nice little performance for the parents. It was great to see. We had a packed house with lots of parents who came. Those started, and then Lee is offering 10 classes, which are all up and running. So we're really happy with this program. We can't tell you enough how much we're happy with the Norridge Park District starting this up. Evan Clayton, who is taking lead on it, and how well they're doing. We started some registration. Last week, Thursday, we had preschool and kindergarten first round registration. We had 18 preschool students sign up and 25 full day kindergarten and 8 half day kindergarten. Since we have a new person in this position now, we have a registrar. We have a schedule. Parents signed up for time to come in. Very little wait time. Ran so smoothly. Our next date is April 27th, and if anyone is looking to register, they can call to make an appointment, or there is information on the website. There's a pop-up that they can go to, click on it, and then schedule an appointment. Along with that new position, we've been collecting, trying to finish the collection of fees for 21-22. So the registrar has been reaching out to families, making phone calls, sending emails, trying to get our fees paid, including the kindergarten and preschool tuition fees that are outstanding. We've had a lot of progress and movement on fees. And in the last note of registration residency, we will be starting returning students registration residency in May. We now have a dedicated person who will be overseeing residency and really following up on all of our residency. We are still looking for that next step of having an investigator, but we are dedicated to having an investigator that could go out and investigate residency issues that may come up. As you know, in the past, we have found families that get to registration but aren't actually living in the Norridge School District boundaries. We're very dedicated to making sure that we're responsible to the taxpayers and that only families who are living in Norridge, Howard Heights, are coming into the district. Just want to announce 2 Rotary events. Rotary is sponsoring a Cinco de Mayo event on May 5th at the Loop Lounge, which is in Presidential Plaza, where the Bennigans used to be. I have not been there, but I heard it's a very lovely place. And June 4th, they are sponsoring a Chicago Dogs game. Tickets are available for both of those. We have 52 students enrolled so far for summer school. We opened enrollment last week. And I do want to mention the Memorial Day observations ceremony that the Village of Norridge puts on Sunday, May 29th. If any board members would like to attend that, typically we've had some board members attend and present a wreath. So if you can check that date if you're interested in attending. I believe it's a morning. I don't have the actual start time, but I believe it's a morning ceremony. Right there in the veterans area on Alcott. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Mr. Dorr?
Yeah, a couple of things going on. We're currently preparing for our extended school year program in June, which is indicating students' IEPs. We emailed registration forms to all parents whose children qualify on Thursday, April 12th, and we're getting responses. We are currently completing our Lead to Giles transition meetings for students with IEPs to help make that smooth transition. Our LEAD program at Giles is starting to incorporate community-based instruction, otherwise known as CBI. CBI is a long-established high-leverage practice in education where students practice academic and functional skills in the community. What's really nice with where Giles is located, there's access to a variety of community, whether it's Eisenhower Library, different stores, and different things like that. And one of the things I also want to highlight that, it's been nice is the building principals and myself have been meeting with co-teaching teams, both the general education teacher and the special education teacher, to get feedback on our co-teaching model, what works well, what could be improved, and what needs to be changed, just to kind of get that idea to, hear from the experts and people who are implementing it every single day. So lots of things going on.
Thank you. We'll go to our building monthly reports. We'll start with Giles, Mr. Bianchi.
Thank you. I'd like to take this time and thank our building leadership team and our members of our SIP committee. We're very excited that we're going to be able to present to you today the Giles School Improvement Plan. I would also like to take this opportunity and thank the PTA for their partnership. We have a lot of wonderful activities that are being planned from now until the end of the school year, and really would like to thank all of our PTA members. Trivia night at Giles School will be held this Thursday, April 21st in the gym. It'll be from 6 to 7:30. We're very excited to have this evening with our families. And the PTA will be on hand, and they will have a concession stand for some family-friendly pricing of some nice food, concession food. Giles this week is celebrating Kindness Spirit Week to help kick off the big Village Kindness event on Saturday. Today, the faculty and staff, along with the Norwood Park Fire Department, welcomed all of our students into the building today. So it was a lot of fun this morning doing that. Both our boys volleyball teams and girls soccer team seasons have begun. We'd like to wish both teams the best as they compete in the Leiden Norwood Athletic Conference. As a reminder, May 15th, our 6th grade dental forms are due. It's very important that these forms get turned into our nurse. Our nurse has been working with families to get them turned in, and we're almost there. We still have some families that still need to turn them in. We are busy planning the next school year. Lots of great things are happening, but we're actively getting everything ready. We also started interviewing for open positions for next year. We're trying to get ahead of the national teacher shortage. So you'll see that today on today's board agenda, and also hopefully next month as well. And then just wanted to let everyone know that I recently applied for a grant. I'll find out in July to receive 2 additional 3D machines for our STEAM lab at Giles School. So again, I should find out in July if Giles School was chosen. And that concludes my report.
Any questions from the board? Thank you. Dr. Raviol, Lee?
Thank you. Similar to what Mr. Bianchi said, we are excited to share our school improvement plans with the board tonight. We've invested a lot of time, and we're excited to be able to share those. Tomorrow we have a kindness tunnel plan where students will be welcomed by the Norridge Police Department and the North Park Fire Department. So we're excited to see that. And I also heard that we may have a visit from our school mascot, Stripes. So that's it's in the works, but so we're excited for that one. And it won't be, and Stripes is not currently in the room, so don't worry. Now, as Mrs. Guzik mentioned, we're working on preschool and kindergarten registration. On May 9th, we are hosting a kindergarten roundup for incoming kindergarten parents to come in and learn how to best prepare their child for a successful kindergarten year. We also are coordinating with the PTA. We're sponsoring a Paint a Rock event in the Lee parking lot as part of the Norridge Kindness Day on Saturday. I believe that will be roughly 11:30 to about 1 o'clock. And after those rocks are painted, they'll be spread throughout the village. We have Art Night planned for April 28th, so that's next Thursday. Our students have been working really hard, and Mrs. Muscarella has been working really hard to prepare for that event. And as Mr. Bianchi was saying, at this point in the school year, we are starting our preparations and planning for next school year. And it's important that we, take some time to plan that out. All teachers have been notified of their teaching assignments for the next school year. We're working on filling any open positions. We've had many interviews, and we're also starting to make those initial preparations and putting together class lists and placements for next school year to make sure that we have a successful start to the next year. So that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you very much.
I do. I don't think we focused enough on you guys got a grant. Did you write the grant, or I'm sorry, I'm very excited about that. I think we didn't focus enough on that. We just jumped right past it. So.
Sure. So for the community partnership grant, how that came about was I was connected with a contact at Midwest PBIS, and together we coordinated that grant and found some additional community partners to work with on the grant. And that grant is, initially it was a 1-year grant, and because of the timeline of the grant and how it changed throughout the course of that process, ISB made some adjustments to extend that over the course of 2 school years, basically so that it would align up with the way the ESSER funds are rolling out. So I will have some more information that we can share with the board to provide some additional details, but essentially those funds are tied to specific training and technical assistance with the partners in that grant.
That's great. Thank you.
One, how many were awarded in the state?
I believe, I could be wrong, but I want to say there was a total of $87 million that was awarded and 136 grants total. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it was somewhere around there. And initially, the maximum amount of the grant was $500,000, but we think because there were some holdups that they adjusted some things and were actually awarded more than was originally written for. So that's always exciting.
That's great. Thank you, Sean, very much. Discipline reports. Mrs. Ahrens, and then Mrs. myself. Giles.
This month we have 6 in-school suspensions to report at Giles. 3 were in violation of board policy 7:199. 1 in violation of 7:197. 1 in violation of 7:193. And then the last one in violation of 7:197, 9, and 21.
Lee has 2 suspensions to report. Both of those suspensions were in violation of board policy 7:199.
Okay, ladies, thank you. Board committees, board policy and development. You'll see as stated on the agenda, we have a board policy revision tonight on its second reading, but we'll get to that. Building and grounds.
The only thing I have to report, was it 2 weeks ago, Lou and I met with Spuzek, Bob, to follow up on the strategic planning aspect of building and grounds and talk about goals and how we can word that and give it a path, I guess. And just in general, we can say that a lot of it has to deal with your big structural things that we have planned, plumbing, mechanical stuff, and we can hope to, side by side with that, do some beautification, make our classrooms look better. But a lot of the nuts and bolts of building and grounds now are still the big things, like chillers, and boiler type stuff, and we're doing plumbing and all that sort of things. The same way you wouldn't repaint your kitchen if you were about to remodel it, you do all the big structures. But we'll figure out how to try to do some of both. Anything else, Lou? No? That's about it.
Board, any questions? Frank, we thank you, as always. Communication.
No.
Finance.
No update.
Negotiations. We had a committee meeting on the 11th of April. There's another committee meeting scheduled tomorrow. So we'll update the board in closed session on the context of the discussion. Education, parent, teacher advisory, behavioral, those are as needed. I'm not aware of any meetings being had. Norridge Park.
So, Ms. Suzik gave us a pretty good update with the after school program. So, I mean, other than that, there's nothing else.
All right, Chris, thank you. And then that concludes the committees. We'll go back to the monthly staffing. Mrs. Music.
Thank you. So on the report tonight, on the agenda tonight, you will see a few resignations of some people that have found some other positions and moved up into some positions, which we're happy about, and we're happy for them. And a couple of, as Dr. Aviola and Mr. Bianchi mentioned, we are starting to hire for 22-23. We're really excited to be able to interview this early and start hiring people this early. And we're hoping to fill most, if not all, of the positions that we have open by May 1st. Any questions about staffing?
Not for me. Thank you, Michelle. Moving on to our consent agenda. I ask the board to consider the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion before I ask for the motion? Ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion?
Second.
Frank, seconded by Chris. Sarah, roll call please.
Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau? Yes. Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to our action items. I ask the board to consider the approval and adoption of the following board policy revisions on its second reading. 4:165. It's identified as operational services, awareness and prevention of child sexual abuse and grooming behaviors. 6:60. Instruction, curriculum content. Any discussion?
Yeah, can we table this one till after closed session?
Sure.
I just want a little clarity on a couple things.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Unless we can get that clarity now.
I can try and answer some
Yeah.
questions.
So, I have him on my phone, and I want to be clear, so if we could do this after close, that'd be okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. We'll table it. Sarah, if you can make a note, we'll table it, and we'll get back to it upon returning to close. Okay. I'd ask the board to consider the approval of the request to go out for bid for garbage removal services. Discussion? Okay, I ask for a motion to request to go out to bid for garbage removal services.
Motion.
Molly, Maria, roll call please.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau? Yes. Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanna? Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
That motion carries. I ask the board to consider the approval of the request to engage architect in preliminary planning for preschool. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to approve the request to engage the architect in preliminary planning for preschool.
Motion.
Second.
Frank, Molly, Sarah, roll call please.
Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes. Motion carries. Ask the board to consider the approval of the gym rental request. Any discussion? Ask for a motion to approve the gym rental request. Louis, Chris, roll call please.
Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau?
Motion carries. I ask the board to consider the approval of the revised non-public facility placement contract with Metropolitan Prep Grade School. Discussion. I'll ask for the motion to approve the revised non-public facility placement contracts with Metropolitan Prep Grade School.
Motion.
Second.
Chris, seconded by Maria. Roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Blau? Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanna?
Yes.
Mrs. Beck?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to our discussion items. I'll turn it over to Mr. Grimm.
Okay, thank you. Item A, I'll let Mrs. Guzzi talk to you about that.
As you know, on March 7th, we took part of the strategic planning retreat. 4 areas were identified: finances, buildings and grounds, planning time, and student programming, specifically in kindergarten, were identified as areas of goals for us. I have met with each of the groups at this point. I am providing some clarifying information for the groups, and then gathering again one more time before the May board meeting to present those goals to the board. I also have a presentation this evening about the schedule for 22-23, which I will talk a little bit more in detail about. Any questions about the strategic plan update?
When do you anticipate bringing the goals to the board?
The May board meeting.
All right, the second item tonight is the 2022-2023 building level school improvement plans. I just want to say that this is always something that I look forward to as a superintendent. When I came to speak to you almost a year ago, this is something that I suggested that every district should have in terms of a process to really think systematically about continuous improvement. And so I pitched this to the administrative team, and they really took it and ran with it, and now the staff is taking it and run with it. And I can't tell you how gratifying it is for me to see the culmination that you have in your packet, the report. It's a tremendous amount of work. And they've done an outstanding job. And like the strategic plan, once we have the goals that we will bring to you next month, that sets the course for a lot of things at the district level. These building level improvement plans set the course for improvement at the building level. And when everything's in alignment, I think you're going to see some real significant continuous improvement in a lot of different areas. And as I've said to the board, I'll say it to the staff, no matter how good we are, and we do a lot of things really well in this district, staff does a lot of things really well, we can always get better. And that's one of my hopes, that when I finish up here next month, one of the things I hope that I leave you with is this idea that we can get better. And that's our task, because that's what our kids need, that's what they depend on us for. And so tonight, I have asked the building principals to have their team come and present the results of their labor since August. And I actually think we started talking about this in June. Last June, when we did our little SWOT analysis with our DLAC group, this was one of the goals that came from that process. And I've worked with a lot of teams in terms of school improvement. I'll take this work and put it up against any that I've done before. It's that good. And so I think Michelle and I did rock, paper, scissors, and the lead team gets to go first in presenting your plan to the board.
Come on up, team. I run it, this may, come with your understanding when we talk about one of our challenges, so we'll get to that in just a minute. But thanks for inviting us here to present this information tonight. We have been working really hard on our school improvement plan, and I would like to start with introducing the team that put this together. Of course, myself, Sean Raviolo, principal at Lee, and
Sarah, myself, assistant principal at Lee.
I'm Wendy Hyde, I'm a kindergarten teacher here at Lee.
Oh, I'm Trish Schulteis, third grade teacher at Lee.
Felix Dodger, fourth grade teacher.
Patrick Woodward, PE teacher here at Lee.
and we have a few staff members who are part of our team, but we're not able to be here tonight. That's Mrs. Marisho, first grade teacher, Mrs. Percival, second grade teacher, Mrs. Muscarello, art teacher, Ms. Jennings, speech and language pathologist, and Ms. Renz, our school psychologist.
All right, so I know that we've already heard the mission and the vision, but I don't think it hurts to hear it one more time. So Norridge District 80, our mission is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment. And our vision is our students are the focus of all we do at Norridge School District 80. The student-centered classroom will promote an independent, collaborative, and motivated learning environment. Our administrators, teachers, and staff will set high standards in a safe, nurturing, and positive environment, which will prepare our graduates to take on their future with confidence. Our Lee Tiger population. We have 69.5% of our tigers are white. We have 19.1 Hispanic, 9.5 Asian, and 2 or more, 1.8. We also have 30% of our tigers have free and reduced lunch, 26% are English language learners, and 12% of our students are students with an IEP.
The one number I just wanted to highlight on is 26% of our students are English language learners. That is huge. It's more than one in every 4. So just want to make sure that we highlight that note there.
And this is getting into some of our strengths here at Lee. This is results from our 5 Essentials survey that is taken by a majority of our 4th grade students. It really highlights how they feel in a very safe and supportive environment. Their peers and other classmates really value hard work. They feel that their teachers are trustworthy and responsive to their learning. And they feel that their teachers are always putting them in a position to try their best and succeed to the highest potential. And then some more strengths. Students have a lot of opportunities to receive a well-rounded education here at Lee. They have specials daily. They have art 1 time a week, music 1 time a week, media once a week, and PE twice a week. And then Mrs. Buzek was talking about this earlier. Our after-school enrichment programs have been very successful here at Lee. There are programs ranging from athletics to arts, and it's a partnership with the Park District, and it's been a really well-received turnout so far. Our second step curriculum for social and emotional learning is a social and emotional learning curriculum that really helps students learn how to regulate and identify their emotions. It helps with bullying prevention. It helps them understand and have more empathy for others, and helps them with their problem-solving skills. And then our summer offerings are planned to be provided again to students to provide that extended learning opportunity for students to combat that loss of learning due to COVID.
So this year I noticed we focused on a lot about celebrating our successes, and probably one of our biggest successes I feel at Lee School is our Pride program. It's one of the things we most can be proud about, and I know I especially am, because it's been a long-standing initiative at our school. It started in 2009, 13 years ago. And it stemmed from a place of wanting to create positive relationships between staff and students and the community, because when you have a more positive relationship, more connections, when people feel good about themselves, things naturally fall into place. Just people learn better, people want to be with each other, and with that positive approach to behavior, then hopefully it negates the negative actions of students likewise. Because a more positive approach encourages a more respectful and conducive learning environment. So to do that, we kind of focus. It's kind of evolved through the years, and it gets bigger and tweaks itself according to whatever our student needs, our school needs, or our community needs are. But the one thing that's always been pretty much consistent is our mantra, and that's basically be safe, be respectful, and responsible. And it's basically the guiding force between all our actions and all of our the way we make our choices here at the school and help guide our students along on their learning process. I think that one of the main reasons why pride is so important, especially at the elementary level, in a junior high or in a high school, students can find a sense of belonging in clubs or sports, and they feel connected with the school and feel good about themselves and build those relationships. But elementary school doesn't lend itself to that, and with Pride, the Pride program, everybody's included. It's not the natural, breakdown just because of, your skill set or your interests. So it's all inclusive of all students, all staff. And what the Pride program does is it recognizes our students as individuals first and foremost. If kids feel good about themselves, then they'll want to do better in school. They'll want to be better for their classmates, for themselves, for their families. And we recognize each other, our students, in a variety of ways to help them achieve that. Because when you feel good about yourself, academics will follow behind. Probably first and foremost, we award Tiger Paws when students are caught being safe, being respectful, responsible. And when you get that personal recognition, hopefully it encourages you to do more. Those paws are then allowed for the students to visit Paw Mart, which is a big highlight of our students' days once a month, because then they see the rewards, they reap the rewards of their actions. We also have our Tigers of the Week, where students at each grade level are highlighted. We have our top Tigers, which were students from every homeroom. Every homeroom picks a student to honor for maybe going above and beyond just a little bit more. And there's no set parameter, because what might be my success for me might not be a success for you. But our whole goal is to make sure every child realizes they have value and that they can succeed from working hard. We have our front bulletin board, which highlights each grade level's artwork and talents once a month, and there's a great welcome to bring students when people come visit our school. So besides awarding individuals, of course, we try to celebrate our school, because that's why we're all up here, because together we are better. And it's things people look forward to. Our Freeze Pop Fridays, our monthly Spirit Weeks, and different monthly activities like our holiday door decorating contest, our rock, paper, scissors tournament, and probably one of the most successful school-wide activities is our buddy program. Younger students are paired with older students, and the reason to do that is, again, to build a sense of belonging and connection. An older student sees their younger buddy walking down the hallway, they might straighten up a little bit, be a positive role model for their kids. Same thing, younger kids see their older buddy in the hall, at the park, at Target, they feel connected to the school, more proud to be a Lee School Tiger. And not only do we want our students to feel good about themselves as students and being a part of our school, we want them to see the bigger picture that they're part of a community. And so Tiger Pride also does activities with the community. We have celebrated National Crossing Guard Day. We make holiday cards for the veterans and mail them out to them. We decorate the village tree, so a family nice event is go down to the village hall and see the tree. And again, make the kids feel connected. And probably our biggest and most successful is where Lee School prepares with Giles Pride program, as well as the Norridge Citadel Salvation Army, where we raise money every year for local families in need. And we usually raise over $3,000 every year for that. So these are things to be proud of. And not only that, speaking of proud, we should be proud of our staff too, and want them to feel connected with Lee School. And we do activities to help us build as a family as well. While this list may seem extensive, it's not exhaustive. Tiger Pride is everywhere, every day, and it makes our Tigers smile and feel good about themselves in the school. It's our school, and we want our Tigers, our students and staff, to feel proud about being a Lee Tiger.
So with our great strengths, we also have some challenges. So on this slide are some physical challenges that we have, which is some deterioration, some plumbing issues, some cosmetic issues that are definitely getting better with our building and grounds team with Mr. Trabuzio, so we thank you for that. And just one of the challenges that we have in some of the problems that still exist. So with that, we do also have some technology challenges that we have. These are some computers and some projectors that we have. These are the way that they're currently working, where some computers are shutting off, some smart boards are not functioning properly to where the students can see in the most best way. And there is a plan currently put in place to swap these out so we can have updated technology. But yeah, these are just the problems that currently exist.
So thinking about a school improvement planning process, you have to start with the data. And you go where the data takes you. And along with that, we compiled a bunch of data from demographic data to enrollment to EL services to special education services, staff demographics, and we put them all in tables similar to what you see here. And you can see every single table, if you scroll through the school improvement plan that's on board book, that's all there. We also pulled map data for each grade level. And we looked at a few things. We looked at longitudinal data, that's data over time, focusing on the overall mean for each grade level, where they were performing compared to the national norm, or the 50th percentile, the average. We also looked at the percentage of students making expected gains. Now, making expected gains is a growth target that is set from MAP when a student takes that assessment to project where they should be when they take that next assessment at whatever the next interval may be. And then we also focused on specific instructional areas to see if, are there specific areas where we may need to provide some additional support. When you think about math, you can look at algebraic thinking, you can look at numbers and operations, you can look at measurement data, or geometry. You can really hone in a little bit more specific to see if there's a specific area where we need to focus. So what we did is we compiled all that data, put it all in a table, and we had all staff members go through what we call a data gallery walk. And what that is, that they were looking through those tables, and they were trying to analyze that data and identify an area that was a strength and an area that was a challenge. And we documented all those observations, and all of those observations are actually included in our school improvement plan. If we saw some common trends, we may have grouped them together, but those observations are all included. And then, from there, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I jumped ahead.
So these next two slides are us kind of zooming in on making expected gains for our students. So when we took that gallery walk, we noticed areas of growth, and our staff, we all were able to identify these. So these next two slides are the areas that we want to focus on for our problem statements and then also our action plan. So again, this is making expected gains for math in the MAP assessment. So what this is showing you is students who made expected gains in grades 2 through 4 from winter to winter assessments in MAP since 2017. And as you can see with the graphs, it's a nice visual display that, for a while we were making expected gains in the way we would like them to. And then there was this drop off over the past year, and we certainly do know the impact that COVID has had, and this is showing this in our data. The next slide will also show this exact thing, only this is in reading. So you can see in the previous slide where our students are, on average, just under half of our students are making expected gains in math. And then if you move to reading, just over half of our students are making expected gains in reading. Again, this is with the MAP assessment in grades 2 through 4. So this was definitely the area we wanted to highlight and target, and we'll continue to talk about through our problem statements.
So in reviewing that data, it's neither good nor bad. It is what it is. So we have our problem statements here. And what these are, this is what we came up with as a team as a problem that we wanted to hone in on. So for problem statement 1, we have that over a 3-year period, we averaged 46% of our students making expected gains in math. And in our most recent math data, 43% of our students made expected gains. So that was highlighted as a problem by our team.
I'm sorry, that's fine. In reading, similar to math, as you can see over the 3-year period, 54% of our students made expected gains, but in our most recent year, comparing winter to winter data, only 47% of our students made expected gains in reading.
Then for problem statement number 3, we wanted to look at the social emotional piece. Coming back off of the pandemic, there's been some challenges. So we wanted to look back and say, well, what does our data show us? And if we look back at the fall of 2021, we take a screener called SABRES, which is a social and emotional behavior risk screener. And on that, we had 15% of our students flagged as having some or more risks. So we identified that as a problem that we want to ultimately strategize on. So once we identified those problems, we then had to collaborate and brainstorm a potential hypothesis as to why we feel that these are problems that we're seeing. And we know that this year was a challenging year with the pandemic and its impact on not only academics, but also that social emotional piece. So from there, we worked to craft a goal around these 3 areas: math, reading, and SEL. And we're gonna take you through a look at those goals right now.
So our first goal is in math, to go with problem statement number 1, where we are expecting 60% of our students will make expected gains in math data from winter 21-22 to winter 22-23.
So our goal number 2 looks at ELA. So we know that in the winter of 2020 to 21, 47% of our students at Lee met expected gains. We also recognize the fact that that can be stronger. That's an area that can be stronger. So we have created a goal that when we receive the scores back in the winter of 22-23, 60% of our students will make expected gains in the area of English language arts.
And then our goal number 3, which is aligned with our policy statement number 3, referring to the 15% of students who were flagged on the SABRES screener. It's involving our SEL, social emotional learning. Each October, February, and May, 90% of students who are identified as needing additional support will be assessing relevant evidence-based interventions to support their SEL growth. And then each month, 70% of students participating in evidence-based Tier 2 or Tier 3 SEL interventions will be on track to meet their individual goals.
So I love a good goal, but at the same time, the goal only tells you, what you want to do. It doesn't tell you how you're going to get there. So in addition to a goal, we had to create an action plan, a detailed action plan for each of those 3 goals. And within that specific action plan, it includes information in terms of what we're going to be doing and who's going to be doing it and when we're expected to implement that piece of the plan. So while we won't review every action step here tonight, we are going to share some highlights of the plan with you. And then, like I said earlier, the full plan is available for you to do as well.
So the first part, so this is a visual display of our action plan. So each of these different visuals up here represent a part in our action plan based on whatever goal it's addressing that you just heard. So the umbrella of the MTSS framework kind of is highlighting how the MTSS process can help make sure that we're able to meet those goals that we've set. This particular graphic will identify or will address problem statements 1 and 2. And you'll notice in the action plan, when you see specifically there is a Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention committee, academic intervention committee. And this committee will look at our intervention programming. It will look at developing professional development for our staff, and also continue to improve how we assess and measure the fidelity and the efficacy of our MTSS framework.
So in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a box there that has a PLC in the middle. And PLC stands for Professional Learning Community, which is an ongoing process in which educators collaborate in the cycles of learning to ultimately do right by kids and be able to respond to their needs. And it focuses around 4 critical questions, and that's, what do we want students to learn? How are we going to know if they learned it? What will we do if they don't learn it? And what will we do if they already know it? So it thinks not only in terms of a intervention, but how are we also advancing our students who already have a level of mastery of specific skills.
Okay, so one of the things we're committed to doing is working on our co-teaching model. We know this is a work in progress, but we in Lee School are committed to collaborating to improve our skills and our relationships in order to provide the best individualized schooling experience for each of our lead tigers involved in our special education program.
Another significant part of our plan is our ELO population. We grew from 22% to 26%. So even with that increase, we have the same number of ELO support staff in that same position. So part of our plan is to increase that support plan so we can reach and meet more of those needs, especially with our problem statement number 2 and goal number 2. We're focusing on improving that ELA data, which is what the ELO supports that focus on.
Okay, professional development is another area we're going to look at. And just like our students, the staff is learning and growing each day. This is how we get better at what we do. Ongoing professional development for staff needs will be a priority. In order to accomplish this, surveys will be going out to our staff members. These surveys will help the leadership gauge what the staff needs in order to become even stronger in their craft. Some examples might be new teacher trainings, intervention support training, small group, how to lead a small group and be successful. And also just learning from our peers, having other teachers in the district, something that they specialize in, they can teach others, and so they can become experts in something.
And an additional vital component of our plan is improving our parent engagement. Parent involvement in their child's learning is a crucial factor in their success, and we would answer that by having Parent University, which would be a series of parent workshops that are offered here at Lee, where they are provided those extra resources that can benefit them in improving their child's learning at home. And these ideas or resources would be solicited from other teachers and would be led by other teachers throughout the school year as well.
All right, and so this graphic is the Castle SEL circle, and it really encompasses a lot about what social emotional learning is. And so this is just a representation of what we're going to be working towards for our third goal, which is focused around social emotional learning and supporting our students' social emotional needs. And it really, hits on various areas. And one of the things I want to highlight is that includes bringing our families in and also a community support. And part of that community support we feel is that with the community partnership grant that we shared some information on earlier, that'll also provide around our students and our school to provide some additional supports that we're hoping will help to work to improve overall social emotional health for everyone. So we are also creating a system of supports for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 social emotional needs. We will also be incorporating professional development into the mix there. You see families on there. We want to have families involved. We want the parental involvement. We want parent universities. And we want to build that connection from school to home. Research has shown over and over again how important that really is. And also further embedding social emotional learning into the classrooms through responsive classroom, which is something that we've been working on through this spring that was actually introduced previously, and also re-envisioning our school-wide PBIS initiatives. All right, so monitoring our plan. So we need to hold each other accountable to ensure that our plan is being implemented appropriately. So we're gonna keep an agenda item on to check on our plan for continuous improvement. And you know, as I've heard multiple times, you know, what gets measured gets improved. So finally, before we wrap this presentation up, I really want to thank our building leadership team at Lee. When we first started to dive into this work, it was really a huge undertaking. And I don't think that initially that this team had signed up with all of this work in mind when they initially were, you know, on this team and took a part in that. But they worked through it. They embraced the process. We worked through a lot of things. We had a lot of great ideas shared. We put together a really solid plan, in my opinion. And I'm proud of the work that we were able to do. And I really just wanted to take a moment to recognize the team and to thank them for all the hard work, because this isn't a one-person show. It's teamwork that makes the dream work. I'll drop the mic there.
Okay, so Giles School, we just like to say ditto, thank you. Have a seat. No. So we spent a number of meetings, days, hours, and you all have access. It's a 52-page document that the school improvement team created. A lot of work, huge undertaking, but a lot of great work came out of this, and we're excited because our future is going to be great because of the work that we are doing here in Norridge School District 80. So I specifically would like to thank our school improvement team, myself, Mrs. Ahrens, Mrs. Fig, Mrs. Baroni, Mrs. Russell, Mrs. Cusolio. Cusolo. They love me over the intercom, I tell you.
That's right.
Mrs. Quitno, who's not here, and Miss Foley, and Miss Norgard. So I'd like to thank them for their work, and we'll turn it over.
So our school enrollment has remained steady really throughout since we've been tracking enrollment. In 5th grade, we currently have 124. 6th grade, 112 as our smallest class. 7th grade, we have 132 students. That's our biggest class at Giles right now. 8th grade, we have 119 students. And I believe our upcoming 5th grade is around 105 students, so we're pretty steady. We have 30 certified teachers, 6 paraprofessionals, 4 support staff, and 2 building administrators. Our school data, 16% of our students are ELL. That is a good chunk of our students. It is slightly lower than Lee because, as is very typical, there's a big exodus in 3rd and 4th grade on the access test because students have acquired literacy by 3rd and 4th grade, and we see big numbers exiting. 10% of our students have IEPs, and 40% of our students are low income.
Okay, luckily Wendy and I covered Pride from beginning to end, so we're very much aligned because Wendy and I work together. So what we're doing at Lee, we're usually doing at Giles, maybe in a different way, but the same kind of thing. So we have PBIS points instead of the Tiger Paws. The kids love it. You know, they get these points and they can go to the stores and buy different things. The biggest seller by far and away is the homework pass. They love those. But they love doing it. So instead of just being respectful, responsible, and safe, we have to be positive, respectful, inclusive, determined, and engaged. And so we have a few extra things. Something new this year is Giles Made. So the kids are talking about how they're Giles Made. And to be Giles Made, you have the qualities of our Pride program. And so the kids actually even talked about it in their student-led conferences, how they're Giles Made. You can hear them talking about it in the hallway. Sometimes kids will do something and you can hear someone say, that's not very Giles Made. So they love the program. It's a great program. We do a lot of fun things. We're doing the kindness challenge, like Bob said. This week we're doing different kindness activities leading up to Saturday's Norridge kindness event. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Our school strengths, so we have many, but we just wanted to mention a couple. One is our committed staff. So nearly 60% of our teachers have master's degrees or higher in education, and 100% of our teachers are proficient or excellent on our performance evaluations. And our teachers are very dedicated and very happy to be at Giles School. It's a great environment, and so when your teachers are happy, you know, it trickles down. Academic success, so Giles School is at or above state national averages for academic achievement. And also we're very proud of our partnership with Ridgewood High School to offer advanced placement classes in ELA, math, and Spanish. So we have several 8th grade students that walk over to the high school and they take classes there, and then they come back to Giles for their other classes. So it's a great program, gives them a head start, and they love to do it. And the kids like strive to be able to do that, like the younger ones, so they're moving up through the ranks. And then we would be remiss not to mention our great, wonderful parent support. The parents at Giles School, they're very committed to partnering with our staff. The new this year was student-led conferences, and so 100% of our students were able to have a conference with their parents if the parents wanted one, and so that was new this year, and it was very well attended. It was great to see the students take ownership of their learning. They each had to make a PowerPoint presentation, talk their parents through the classes, what they're doing well with, what they could use help with, how people can help them, what they could do. So it's a great addition to Giles School.
Okay, so the team utilized math data for grades 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to help develop our student improvement plan. We were able to look at these charts to determine any deficits or discrepancies within our curriculum standards. The team had been working on the scope and sequencing of curriculum, and whether it be pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, what they have been doing is notating the standards that are emphasized, and we were able to move some of our curriculum around to make sure that those topics have been introduced and have been addressed prior to testing, so that the students can show their best, they can put their best foot forward. As it is notated, we do see in math that there was a slight dip, but then because of the shift of scope and sequencing and the dedicated teams looking at their standards, the scores started to come back around. If we move to the next slide on ELA, ELA has a very nice steady upward trend in the majority. Where it seemed to affect our students more so was in the lower grades, coming from 4th to 5th grade in the middle of a pandemic. Their little minds had a lot to work with and a lot of other situations that they were learning how to exist in this world now. So we see that they, the 5th grade had come down in their score in our last chart, but they are back on their way up again. So we see an upward overall trend for our expected gains.
Our challenges, it's hard to find this, but we found a few. Our rate of improvement is pretty decent. We have 47% in ELA, 63% in math that are meeting or exceeding the state average. But in the past few years, we have seen the improvement decline a little bit. So that would be our first challenge. Our second one, our socially emotional. Obviously with COVID, this is like the talk of the town, right? We have 141 referrals. And when I about referrals, we have the majors and minors. I talked about the majors, so those would be like our big referrals. And the top 3 that come up every single year is the cheating, defiance and disrespect, and then inappropriate behavior and language. So those are our top 3 areas of concern. And then course offerings. We don't have a lot of student choice when it comes to our courses, like we have in previous years. We also see that our writing instruction is no longer a standalone. It is now embedded in our ELA curriculum. Okay, so our goals. Our goal 1 and 2 are pretty similar. We set our percentage pretty high for both. We would like to see 70% of our students meet or exceed expected gains on the for math and for ELA. So we set the goal the same for both. Our third goal, we want to see that percentage, those top 3 major referrals that I talked about, the cheating, defiance, disrespect, inappropriate behavior and language. We would like to see those decrease by 20%. And we're looking at a time frame by the end of next year. And sorry, you know what, I skipped that too. On goal 1 and 2, we'd like to see that increase to 70% from this past winter, which is then our winter at the end of this year. Looking at that year.
So for our first goal for math, we're looking for PD on technology because all of our math programs for 5 through 8 are all tech-based. All homework is done online, so we'd love to see some PD in technology as well as differentiated instruction. A great thing about our math program is you can give them whether it's advanced or regular remedial, and that's embedded into the nightly homework, which is wonderful for the students. Develop an MTSS guide for us, as well as review the scope and sequence from 5 through 8th grade, and just make sure that we're honing in on those specific skills, hopefully before state testing. We did notice across the board, geometry is usually in the end of the curriculum for 5th through 8th grade. So last year we tried to flip-flop program a little bit to see if that changed our results at all. So we'd be looking at that at 5 through 8 and to see what that would do for us. As for ELA, all teachers, they'd like them to participate in all the different workshops, focusing on reading, writing, speaking, listening, additional ELL interventions and support, because we do have that 16%. And then also more exploratory classes for targeted areas. Right now, we're kind of limited to exactly what exploratory classes we have, so expanding that at all possible. For social emotional, I know this has been hit on a few times tonight, but we're going to talk about it again. We'd love to provide some professional development on handling trauma within the school and behavioral management within the school. The teachers have done an exceptional job doing as much behavior management in class as possible when we have 25 to 30 kids in a class, but maybe some additional PD on that would be great. Identify those at-risk students and then get them to the correct mental health professionals that are within our building now. So we have a really great asset with an on-site social worker at both schools as well as a school psychologist. So really utilizing those on the students that need that support. Provide some, promote the PBIS, which I think is really huge at Giles. What the kids will do for a bag of popcorn is ridiculous. So really just promoting that across all classes, which we really do already. PLC would focus on those major referrals. So when we're meeting with our PLC groups 4 times a week, being able to actually discuss those major referrals and what's coming through each week, as well as individual behavior management plans for those kids who are still struggling or are what we call our frequent flyers. Continue to implement that second step program in advisory. It's given us a really great communication piece this year in advisory that I find absolutely remarkable. So if you can engage 8th graders in this second step program, that's saying a lot. So continuing that would be great.
So there are 4 essential questions that we go about discussing when we are in our PLCs. And it was touched upon also with Lee School, as well as we will do that kind of meeting, group meeting. It's still like the professional learning communities that the teachers are getting together and collaborating to approach the school improvement plan where groups of us are collaborating to improve student outcomes. So when during the PLCs, these are the core questions that we come upon, that we discuss, whatever needs to be attained from data. So it's what do the students need to know and be able to do? How will they know when they've learned it? Like we need a goal setting kind of session. What will we do when they haven't learned it? And what will we do when they already know it and move forward from that point and setting the goals a little higher and the rigor a little bit more of a substantial gain than in our outcomes if the rigor is set higher.
So as you can tell, a lot of work has been put into this, but a lot more work still needs to be done. We need to make sure that we're intentional and deliberate in our future and going forward. We need to make sure that this document is at the forefront of everything that we do. Just like Lee School had said, when we have meetings going forward, we need to reference this, and this is a working document that will guide us for the future and that will make District 80 and Giles School even more successful. So I'd like to thank the team members. I would like to thank the Board of Education. I'd like to thank our administration for all of this. A lot of work was put into this, but a lot of great things came out of this, and we're very excited. So thank you.
So does the board have any questions for either one of the teams?
I don't have any questions. I just want to take a minute and I want to thank both improvement teams, both from Giles and it's noticeable the time and the effort you put into this, and we thank you for it, right? Our goal is the same goal as yours, is to improve, get those numbers higher, and you know, we understand what you have on the slides here. So thank you for your time doing that, and it's much appreciated. And whatever tools we can give you, if possible, that's the board's goal. That's what we want to do. It helps us achieve those goals. Anyone else?
So, if I can, Mr. Palazzo, you just hit on, I think, one of the critical components of this. Between what Mrs. Guzik is working on with the strategic plan and what the teams have identified through their school improvement plan, the board now has a roadmap on how to go forward. This is no longer a hit and miss. I guess, by golly, we're going to do this. You now have definite, or you will have very soon, definite plans that will help you determine how to make decisions regarding resources, educational decisions, staffing decisions, budgeting decisions, professional development decisions going forward. And that's the whole point of this process. It's no longer hit and miss. Throw the dart at the wall and see if it sticks. When we met with the board in last week, we heard that the board wants some accountability. They want to know when we've achieved certain things. They just told you how they're going to do that. The board's obligation is to provide the resources that they need and to hold them accountable for the work that they have said they're going to do. And I believe that they will do everything they can to obtain these goals. But this is an ongoing process. And I'll be honest with you, they have set some very ambitious goals for next year. Winter, benchmarking for winter, benchmarking. But they can get there. They can get there. But make no mistake, our goal has to be to get 100% of our students meeting benchmarks. And you guys don't take that as a negative. You know that. You've heard me speak. You're doing great work. You've set some very ambitious goals. I'm super excited and super pleased. But in the back of our mind, we have to really think about, over time, how are we going to get to that ultimate goal of having every student attain at that really, really high level. And this is the first step. What a great job they've done. But it's just the first step. And so, again, my challenge is to the board, you should ask the principals to report on the progress that's being made on a periodic basis, whether that's once a year, twice a year. Next year, they should come back to you and report on the progress that they made on these goals, as well as tell you what the next year's goals are. And this just keeps on going. and they will get better at it, and they've done a really good job for their first attempt. I'm really excited about what I've read and what I've seen, and I hope that you are as well. So again, my congratulations to all of you. What a great job. And I really think, Mrs. Music, you've got some real pieces in place to really move forward and really make this a place that even more people want to come to. Because not everybody's doing this work. Item C, Mr. Music.
Yep, 16C. As you might recall, last year around this time, I had the same conversation with you, that we have some we work with some outplace companies for our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, our one-to-one nursing services, and one of our office nurses. I would like to engage in some conversations on bringing on more of those people on our own staff. As you may recall, we did bring on the Lee office school nurse this year as our staff member instead of at a outsourced company. So I'd like to look into that on continuing that. It's been really successful. Next month I will bring you a report on my recommendations as far as hiring people as district employees instead of working through outsourced companies. There's pros and cons to it. So I want to start that conversation if you have any questions about that. And then next month I will bring you some more information about it. Okay, thank you. Also on 16D, starting conversations with Dr. Schilling and Hillary Sienna, who is our district treasurer, and Dr. Schilling, of course, is the financial advisor, and contracts for 22-23 for both of them. Not looking at any increase on anything on either of those contracts. And I would be bringing that to the board next month as well. Are there any questions about those two contracts? I just wanted to point out in 16E that we are looking at curriculum purchases for 22-23. There are a couple of reasons for that. There is a shortage of paper, and we want to start getting everything purchased so that we can have it on time for the start of next year. Lead time on books and materials are longer than we would like. Also, we want to make sure we're staying within our budget of what we've proposed as our fees for the curriculum for next year. And it does seem like every month curriculum purchasing starts going up. So we're putting that in today to the bills, and you will be approving, we're asking you to approve all of our curriculum purchases for 22-23. 16F, residency and registration information, just giving you an update. Mostly spoke about it in my report today, that we are very strongly going to be checking residency for everyone who is returning and all of our new students in Norridge District 80. And then continuing our online registration, which has been very successful for our returning students. I will defer to Mr. Grimm for 16G.
16G is just a note about next month we intend to bring to you the renewal quote for the district insurance package from the Click Co-op. The package amount for this year was $57,578. From what we understand, we can expect a 7 to 10% increase in that package quote for FY23. And I've had conversations with Mrs. Guzik, and I'll say it again to you. This package is a commodity that you can purchase from a number of vendors, and I would strongly encourage you to consider taking that for a competitive bid process next year or the year after.
16H, next month we will be bringing you the audit from the auditors to be approved for our school year that we're completing. I also wanted to make you aware that whenever a district receives over $750,000 in grant funding for one particular year, we are required to have a single audit completed. I'm not sure at this point if we'll be reaching that threshold or not. I should have more information next month. Our SR2 grant has been approved, but SR2 does have some allocations for this year and for next year. So we're not sure if we'll hit it this year. I most likely definitely will hit it next year, especially with the community grant added on to our grants as well. So the quote that I will bring you next month from the auditors will include a price for a single audit if it is required. Something that they plan from the beginning so they can allocate their time appropriately. And then if we don't need it, if we're not required, if we don't hit that $750,000 threshold in grant funds, then it simply just doesn't happen. And we're not charged that additional fee. We'll be bringing that.
We will eventually, though, more than likely, wouldn't you say?
Maybe not this year, but definitely next year.
Definitely next year. So there'll essentially be 2 audits that they conduct, that they'll be providing quotes to us for.
SR3 was about SR2, $427,000, so we may not this year, but I would expect it next year. I have a presentation I'm going to start out for the schedule for 22-23. Some of this will be repetitive, but I promise you I will not read it or go over it. I will just mention it. So this is the time of the year that we start looking at the schedule for the 22-23 for the next school year, the 22-23 school year. I am waiting for the computer to wake up and to connect to the internet. I thought if we left it open, it might be ready to go, but it's not. My first slide goes into the mission of School District 80, which we've heard several times this evening. But it is something that we always start our conversations with, because it is important to always keep the mission and the vision of our district in mind. I'm just going to go ahead and it'll be okay with the little preview. You have it also in board book if you'd like. Just because I can't get it to connect right now, so I don't want to delay. I have no idea what. So next year, what are we looking at as far as our themes for the year? We've had a rough couple of years. Moving through COVID, starting with March of 2022, completing that school year basically through packets that the students picked up. Then the next year, looking at in and out of being in person, being virtual, e-learning. It was up and down. This year, we've had a lot of consistency of being in school, but we still had some focus that maybe wasn't where it should be. So next year, we are going back to the basics. We are going back to what we are here for and focusing on our co-teaching model, and not just with our students with exceptionalities, but also with our students, as you heard tonight. So we have a large population of students that are English language learners. So we're adding that onto our co-teaching plan next year. We're focusing on the work that we do as professional learning communities, which again you heard about this evening. We're focusing on our students' needs, and we're focusing on taking care of our students and taking care of each other. We're going back to what we know how to do the best we know how to do it. As we've talked about the district goals, and I think I can move this now. Yay. For 22-23, the 4 goals that we identified from the strategic planning retreat, the buildings and grounds, the planning time, the kindergarten learning opportunities, and the district finances, are then added on to the school improvement plans that you heard so much about this evening. Those are our 5 focus points for 22-23, our five goals. And as Mr. Grimm mentioned, these are our goals that we'll be reporting back to you on our progress These are the goals that you will hold us accountable for. And these are the goals that we will be talking about all through the year next year. I have not put out the details on the first 4 because we're not ready to finish with that yet. But we have finished the school improvement plans as you saw them this evening, so that's why we have the details on there. But eventually this will all be filled with the details and the goals. As you know, the district goals of the buildings and grounds, we're looking at the 5-year facilities plans for safety and improvement. Kindergarten opportunities, we're looking at supporting our half-day learners. We've had one wonderful meeting about that already and came up with a lot of really creative and new ideas on how we can support our students who are half-day learners. We're talking a lot about plan time and the time that's needed to plan for instruction, and we are talking about being fiscally responsible, staying within our means, staying within our budget. School improvement plans, and I'm not going to go through those, you just heard about them from the teams tonight. They have a math, an ELA, and a SEL goal. I'm just going to focus a moment on our opportunities. We have many opportunities next year. We have ESSER funds, which as you know are one-time funds that are set aside to prevent, to plan for, and to respond to COVID-19. As you learned about tonight, our community partnership grant, which is a two-year grant for SEL education, and our student supports. Our ESSER funds, ESSER 1, we spent on technology, the Chromebooks that were needed in order for us to go one-to-one all the way from preschool through 8th grade. ESSER 2, as I mentioned, was just approved. Here we focus on student programs, our summer school, our mental health programs for our students and for our staff. Our library needs was identified at Giles as an area for growth. We have focused on interventions, materials, and professional development in the ESSER 2 grant. ESSER 3 grant, we are again focusing our student programs. Our after-school opportunities for the students are coming out of ESSER 3. We are focusing on closing learning gaps, bringing together programs, and also building maintenance set aside through our ESSER 3 grant. Currently, right now, our ESSER 3 grant has not been approved through the final process yet. Our community partnership, as Dr. Abiola mentioned earlier, year 1, we have $323,000. In year 2, $311,000. And our partnerships with the list of different associations we're working with. And this is to support the social, emotional, behavioral, mental health within the district and within the community. There's a lot of community outreach that we will be working on through this grant as well and through West 40. We have a meeting on this, I think about 2 weeks from now, to get all the details and get a timeline and scope and sequence. Then our student supports is another opportunity for us. We are looking to hire an additional bilingual teacher. This is a teacher to service Polish and Spanish learners in our EL program. Very excited about tonight in your agenda. We actually are reassigning a current teacher to be teaching this next year. We are looking for an additional special education teacher to service our growing special education learners. And we're looking at additional paraprofessional people for next year that would be servicing our learners' needs. We may, next month, bring a request for an additional staff member or 2 that would be funded through ESSER 3 dollars. That is it for our additional staff for 22-23. The school day. So we've done a lot of research into the school day. Next year, we are proposing that Giles will start and dismiss later than Lee. The reason is we've got a lot of parent feedback that the older children are more independent, that the community feels that they should be starting later, and they can then help their students who are younger to get into school and not be waiting for someone to come back from Lee to pick them up. We've also had feedback from our parents that the 10 minutes in between the 2 schools is not enough. So we are looking to add 5 additional minutes, which would be 15 minute time. We would be shifting the time of the days, but keeping the same number of minutes on the days. So the schedule would be as follows. Keeping morning session preschool as it is at this time. Our half-day kindergarten would shift a little bit from 8:15 to 10:55. In the morning, the afternoon would end still at our 3:10 time as all our other students are. Full-day kindergarten, 1st through 4th grade, same time frame of 8:15 through 3:10. And then Giles would start at 8:30 to 3:25. So same amount of minutes on those days, just shifting the time a little bit later. I'm also proposing that we take advantage of an early release next year on Wednesdays. And I know this is difficult because my proposal is taking away 70 minutes of instructional time a week. So the students would leave on Wednesdays earlier than the time at the regular end of the day. And the reason for this is we need time. When you've heard about those plans, and you heard about all of the goals that it's imperative that we have time to plan for that instruction, that we plan for those interventions, that the teams have time to meet. And this would be the time for them to plan for the enrichment activities, to actually work together as those professional learning communities, and to be able to have the time to plan. Especially after coming out of COVID, this is something that we need. What that would look like is on the early release plan, a month of 4 weeks. This would rotate if the month doesn't have 4 weeks. 25% of that time would be kind of professional development. Some of the things that you heard Mr. Schultz mention this evening of professional development opportunities that we need. We need to keep growing our teachers' skills to be able to help our learners. 25% of that time would be front on committees. All staff members would serve on a committee, and all committees would take place during the school day. 50% of that time will be spent in professional learning communities, asking those same 4 questions that you heard from the Giles presentation and from the Lee presentation tonight. And what we want our students to learn, what we're going to do if they do know it, what we're going to do if they don't know it. This would be a time that the principals are very involved with the teams. They would be working together as grade level teams, discussing the whole grade level and discussing ways that they can all work together to help that grade level achieve their goals, to help them meet that 70% of meeting their growth goals. This would be very structured time, not time that the teachers have to plan on their own, not time where they are free to do whatever they need to do. It would be very structured administration time that we would plan the time that they are spending. How will we measure the success? How will we know that leaving early on a Wednesday, missing 70 minutes of instruction, how do we know that that will be successful? We've talked about that a couple of times this evening, and Mr. Grimm, after the presentation, spoke to you about our responsibilities, your responsibilities, and the admin team's responsibilities, the teachers. We have to look at those goals. This is the first time that we've had these plans in place. We have to look at our progress on a facility plan. We have to look at our goals on planning time. We have to look at the kindergarten half-day students to see if they are making a benchmark progress. We have to look at if we have a balanced budget. And we have to look at if our school improvement goals that were mentioned tonight, if we're meeting them. That's the way we're going to judge if the time that we are putting into these plans, our 5 goals, is meeting what our needs are. Next month, I will bring you a final presentation of the 22-23 schedule and asking your approval of it so we can move forward on getting the dates, the times out to our parents to let them know what our plans are and they can plan accordingly for the next school year. In summary, we're looking for our increase on our student supports, especially with our social emotional learners. We're looking to increase our opportunities for our students, and we're looking to increase our student growth. Have any questions?
Will that, early dismissal on Wednesday increase the days that they're in school during the year? Or is that just an eliminated time for them?
Just limited time. Illinois school code 5 hours is considered a school day.
Is there a better system of making sure these are getting done than what we just saw? Like, is there something we can come up with? Because I'm sorry, I want to see better scores, test scores. I want to see something when we're taking away 70 minutes of our kids' learning experience. I want to see something in return. I don't want to just, here you go. No, I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
This
I don't want to take away 70 minutes of it either. We have to be meeting our goals. So, as Mr. Graham said, you need to expect us to be presenting this information to you and to meeting those goals. So that is not something we'll look at only once a year. We'll look at least 3 times a year when we benchmark test, when we have new information, and how our students are performing. I agree with you. This comes at a big cost.
Yeah.
I know it does. But I honestly feel it's really good.
I trust you.
Thank you. But I want to make sure that we are reporting to you, that you understand every step of the way and every bit of the progress.
Just wish there was something we could do to do this every 4 months and check. How are we going to check every 4 months besides just talking or saying that we're going to check every 4 months? Is there a way that, I don't know, we come up with some kind of checks and balances to have every 6 months check on if this is working? Because if it's not,
These are my goals, so
Yeah.
I will be presenting these to you and the data that.
Right. I get that, but for us, how do we?
For you personally?
No, us as a board, how do we check to make sure that these things are, I mean, facilities plan, okay, fine, but
Yeah, I think we need tangible
somebody help me
evidence.
articulate.
Some way of measuring to see tangible evidence.
Right.
Because I think we've already, thinking back, most families are two-way driven. And now Wednesdays, somebody's gonna have to figure out what's gonna happen for that extra 70 minutes. And so if they're gonna be on a hardship, they wanna make sure that there's tangible gains.
I would just guess that you're reporting every number of months to 2 months.
On those tangible gains.
Yeah, you have to get in math school?
Yes. Yeah, there's a variety of assessments on our balanced assessment calendar, which we're just finalizing, but math would be, the goals of the 2 plans were math. For math and for reading, and then referrals for PBIS and percentage of students whose needs are being met, and SEL needs. That is very tangible. I can report on that every 3 months as we continue to take those benchmark tests.
So for me, in a more basic understanding for myself, I'm an associate with what I do for a living. So rather than have my team working on vehicles for the entire time that they're at work, I'm gonna take away approximately an hour, a little bit more of an hour every week to make sure that we are addressing our shortcomings and reaching our goals. And this is your plan. We're taking some time away, but we're using that time to increase production.
Sure, you're using that time to build up the skills of your workers so that they have more diverse skills, so that you don't have returning clients to bring back your card and say, hey, bring back their card.
Like a training opportunity almost. Okay.
Training opportunities to look at data, to use the data.
And Wednesdays was discussed with everybody. The general.
The teaching staff?
Yeah.
It was discussed at our district leadership meeting.
And that was mostly everybody would be okay with that Wednesday. I can't imagine, for me as a parent, when I was a student, I don't recall having so many early dismissal days.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's gonna be, this news is not gonna be met with,
It's a shock.
not everybody's gonna be positive about it, so it's something to keep in mind.
I can vouch though, when this was brought up, Bill or something, and turned to Renzo, and I said, wow, this is just like when we were in Union Ridge, when we attended. They had an early dismissal on Wednesday for years and years and years. And it was always a highlight for the kids because Wednesday, early dismissal, yeah.
I liked it.
We never knew why, but now that have been the same reason. But I would just say in a year, if we don't see the metric that's saying it's, then we reevaluate, is it working or not? We go back.
Yes, I agree. This isn't saying that we're gonna be doing it forever. It's saying for the 22-23 school year, we reevaluate it after that.
So I think you're absolutely right, Louis. The board should have some influence. Chris, I might just change two of the words that you used, rather than increase production, we're hoping to improve performance.
That's it, thank you.
Okay.
Because, unlike you don't produce a good or a service. Our goal is to improve student performance. Your points are all very legitimate. But what I want to tell you, I've done this for a long time. I've worked with a lot of different teams in a lot of different districts. This is going to go down as one of the most significant board meetings that you all have participated in since you've been on the board. Because what we're proposing and what the staff is proposing, I liken it to trying to turn the Titanic around in the Mississippi River. We've been doing things the same way for a very long time, and we've gotten very consistent results. And what we're telling you tonight, what your teams have told you, based on their review of the data, what the administrators have told you is, we're no longer satisfied with those. And if we're going to get better results, we have to do things differently. Otherwise, why would we anticipate better results? And so you're absolutely right. You should hold our feet, part of this team, to the fire. And we should be able to come up with those things, Louis, that you're looking for. And if you guys will commit to further dialogue, we'll meet with you and we'll come up with those. Because they're out there. Anything that we do should be able to be measured. Anything. That's a basic Six Sigma concept. And so we should be able to do that. And for as long as I'm here, I'm willing to have that conversation. And I'm pretty sure Mrs. Guzik will engage you in that conversation as well. And we would probably want to include the staff in that too. Because they're going to be the ones that are going to be doing the hard work.
I'm satisfied with that answer.
Any further questions? Thank you. You're finished with presentations.
Well, since I can no longer win the poll, I think I'll take 10 minutes and talk about the next agenda. The House Bill 1167, the paid COVID leave, I put a note in your packet. Just want you to be aware that there are several pieces to this. And we are intentionally waiting until we hear a little bit more from our attorney and their law firm about how to go forward. We've had some conversation about this with the NEAT leadership. We will have in place very soon how we're going to restore those sick days that were used due to one of the 5 criteria related to COVID. We'll go back and recode those as administrative leave. Then we will also talk about, we'll have another decision to make about whether we're going to extend this benefit going forward to those who are not vaccinated, because that is still part of the guidelines that were passed in the bill. And then how will we seek verification when an employee needs to use administrative leave, i.e. staying home due to an illness related to one of those 5 criteria related to COVID as outlined in 1167. So we're on it, we're having conversations. We are just taking a little bit of a slower approach right now. And as soon as we can wrap that up, we will do so. Thank you.
Board have any comments?
So, actually, I got one thing. So I caught some correspondence in the board book that satisfies my 15A that I wanted to discuss and close. I got nothing to ask.
Tammy, do you want to do that now? Or do you want to go to close?
We'll close, we'll come back and we'll do it, but if you want to comment on it now, you can, but I don't want to, we'll do it, we'll still do that.
I'll make a couple comments I'll make a couple comments like you and I talked to the board prep. You should, when you guys come back.
We'll come back.
When you come back and close.
All right, with that being said, I'd ask the board to consider a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees and review of closed session minutes and discussion. I'll ask for that motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees and review of closed session minutes, all in compliance with ILCS.
Motion.
Second.
Molly, Chris. Roll call, please, sir.
Mrs. Duff?
Yes.
Mr. Monson?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano? Mr. Fabrizio?
Yes.
Mrs. Waddle? Yes. Mr. Waddle?
Yes. Motion carries to be out of open now. Note the time, 8:56 p.m. 9:05, good? Couple more minutes, 9:05? 9:05.
Hold on, before we,
We're back in open session at 9:43 p.m. We need 1 minute to review. I want to review something on the agenda. All right, so we're going to go back to that action item that was tabled by Board Member Monson. We'll do that first, and then we will get into personnel. I'd ask the board to consider the approval and adoption of the following board policy revisions on second reading. 4:165, operational services, awareness and prevention of child sexual abuse and grooming behaviors. 6:60, instruction and curriculum content. Discussion.
Okay, so I included in your board book a pretty lengthy memo on these two policies. 4165 is a new policy. It deals with grooming. 6:60 is a rewrite of the curriculum policy. And in that policy is incorporated the changes from last year's legislative session that talks about the new national sex education standards and a whole host of other things, okay? What I want you to know tonight, I'm asking you to approve the two policies. You're not making decisions tonight on whether or not you're going to teach sex ed, and if you are, you're going to teach the new sex ed standards, or you're going to go back and leave them where they are now. You're going to have conversation about that in the fall, okay? And the reason for that is, ISB has been charged by the legislature to come up with these recommended standards relative to the national sex ed standard. That's when I think you're going to have some lengthy conversation. And there's a couple of other things in there, okay, that you're going to want to pay particular attention to. So, I have provided you a link in this memo to all of the supporting documentation for 6:60 that I think you as board members should be aware of. Because it's going to be up to Mrs. Guzik and the administrative team to come to you in July and maybe August and say, okay, we now have to dissect these things to pick out the decisions that we need to make going forward. We're not there yet, okay? We're not there yet. But we're a little behind, and it's on me having you adopt the policy. So that's what I'm asking you to do tonight, is adopt the policy, get it on our books, and then you have the conversation that you need to implement some of these other changes. There are also some significant reporting requirements, notification requirements that are new. And so it's going to be, I've already talked to the principals and given them this information. There'll be some new information that needs to be included in the handbooks in terms of notifications for parents on decisions that they may now be making going forward. So as I hopefully have made clear, this is really kind of an easy thing for you tonight, but there's some additional conversations that you're really going to have to think about. What would this community expect? And what would they want you to do? Okay? Questions? Mrs. Guzik, did I cover that okay?
We'll be bringing that back to you in August or September with the specifics. This is just the policy, okay?
Yeah, it's just a policy implementation tonight.
Okay, we're good.
So I would recommend and I would ask that you approve these two policies on second reading.
Okay. I'll ask the board for a motion to approve and adopt the following board policy revisions on second reading. 4:165, operational services, awareness and prevention of child sexual abuse and grooming behaviors.
Motion. And did you want to include 6:60?
Yes, and I'm sorry, and 6:60, instruction curriculum content.
Thank you.
Thank you. Louis, seconded by Frank. Sarah, roll call please.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to personnel action items. Consider the approval of the reappointment of April Radzik, music teacher at the school. Any discussion? I'll ask for the motion to approve the reappointment of April Radzik, music teacher here at the school. Maria, Frank. Roll call please.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Brownson?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
That motion does carry. I'd ask the board to consider the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Jason Wiegand. Am I pronouncing that right? District Special Ed Paraprofessional, effective March 25th, 2022. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Jason Wiegand, District Special Ed Paraprofessional, effective March 25th, 2022.
Motion.
Second.
Molly, Louis, roll call.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mr. Brownson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. How do you pronounce her first name?
Darlene?
Darlene. Consider the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Darlene Flores, District Special Ed Paraprofessional, effective April 22nd, 2022. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Darlene Flores, Special Education Paraprofessional, effective April 22nd, 2022.
Motion. Second.
Louis, Frank, roll call, sir.
Mr. Lozano?
Yes.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Brownson?
Yes.
Mr. Palazzo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. I'd ask the board to consider the approval of the employment of Anna Marucci, Special Ed co-teacher, Lane MA, Step 2, for the 2022-2023 school year. Any discussion? I'll ask for a motion to approve the appointment of Anna Marucci, Special Ed co-teacher, Lane MA, Step 2, for the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion.
Molly, seconded by Maria, roll call.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ronson?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes. Motion carries. I'll ask the board to consider the acceptance of the resignation of Renata Wawaka, District Special Ed Paraprofessional. Discussion? I'll ask for a motion to accept the resignation of Renata Wawaka, District Special Ed Paraprofessional. Frank Maria, roll call, sir.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Ronson?
Yes.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
Motion carries. I ask the board to consider the approval of the employment of Daniel Nickerson, 7th and 8th grade Spanish teacher at Giles School, Lane 1, Step 1, for the 2022 through 2023 school year. Discussion. I'll ask for a motion to approve the employment of Daniel Nickerson, 7th and 8th grade Spanish teacher at Giles School, in Lane 1, Step 1, for the 2022 through 2023 school year.
Motion.
Second.
Louis Malik, roll call please.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
Mr. Ronson?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Are we gonna table?
Yeah, I just got word we need to table that. So G on the agenda, which is going to be the approval of the employment of self-contained special ed, we'll table that for another time.
We do not have a name for you tonight.
Okay. All right, ask the board, moving on to the next agenda item, I'd ask the board to consider the approval of the reassignments of the following employees. Sarah DeVito, 4th grade special ed teacher at Lee School, to 8th grade special ed teacher at Giles School. Sandra Matz, 3rd grade teacher at Lee School, to 3rd grade special ed teacher at Lee School. Katrina Rosnick, 7th and 8th grade Spanish teacher at Giles School, to bilingual Spanish and Polish teacher at both Giles and Lee schools. Any discussion on the board? Not doing that. I'll ask for a motion to approve the reassignments of the following employees. Yeah, go ahead. Sarah DeVito, 4th grade special ed teacher at Lee School, to 8th grade special ed teacher at Giles School. Sandra Matz, 3rd grade teacher at Lee School, to 3rd grade special ed teacher at Lee School. Katerina Rosnick, from 7th and 8th grade Spanish teacher at Giles School, to bilingual Spanish and Polish teacher at both Giles and Lee School.
Motion.
Frank Molly. Roll call, sir.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Ronson?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. I'd ask the board to consider the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Brandon Del Rios, District Special Ed Paraprofessional. Any discussion on that?
What date's that effective? End of school year, if it's not noted?
Mrs.
It
Guzin?
was effective on April 12th.
Okay.
The date the letter was written. That day. Last day, April 12th, 2022.
Yeah, I'll ask for the motion to accept the letter of resignation from Brandon Del Rios, District Special Ed Paraprofessional.
Motion.
Molly Maria, roll call please.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes.
Mr. Ronson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ask the board to consider the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Alicia Norgard, 6th grade special ed teacher at Giles School. Discussion, question? I ask for a motion to accept the letter of resignation from Alicia Norgard, 6th grade special ed teacher at Giles School.
Motion.
Frank, Maria, roll call, sir.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Ronson? Mr. Mazzano?
Yes.
Mrs. Steph?
Yes.
Mr. Plaza?
Yes. And that motion will carry. Board meeting reflection time. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:55 p.m.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Frank, seconded by Chris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay? All right. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned 9:56 p.m.